June 19th of each year marks the celebration of the International Day to combat sickle anemia. In Gabon, several actions are taken, ranging from public awareness raising to free screening. The 11th edition of the Africa Banking Forum will take place from the 20th to the 21st of June 2019 in Douala. It will highlight the bank as a catalyst for an emerging African continent. In terms of women's football, Marta is the world record of all categories of goals scored in the World Cup. Yesterday, the Brazilian striker broke the absolute record of 17 goals in the World Cup against Italy. These are our top stories. Stay tuned for more details in this newscast. The International Day to Combat Sickle Anemia is celebrated this Wednesday, June 19th, and this is an opportunity to raise awareness on this very debilitating hereditary disease. In Gabon, 1 person out of 4 carries the handicap. Among the activities marking this day, there is this conference debate organized by the Louis Foundation and a screening caravan, because being aware of a situation makes one able to deal with it. A newborn screening project is also to be carried out in the country. It will allow to take early care of fragile newborns in order to fight against the infant mortality. The model of the structure to be renovated reinforces the idea that the work started today promises to be large-scale. The reconstruction of the chamber will go hand in hand with the rehabilitation of Liomba Palace. The project was originally to be carried out by the Chinese, and it remains unchanged because China is a country that holds a high esteem in Gabon. The two states share multilateralism, for example. The interior plan of the House of People gives an idea of the quality of work once delivered. But the memory of the unfortunate event in 2016 that led to the partial firing of this building requires a collective awakening, according to the Speaker of the National Assembly. The government will do its part to secure the site from vandals. The Prime Minister on his side warns anyone willing to attempt to damage the edifice once renovation is completed. The site data sheet indicates that it covers an area of 16,858 square meters for a new chamber of 967 seats, which is a challenge the Chinese prime contractor intends to take up in a few months. In all likelihood, the growth dynamic in Central Africa requires a well-functioning banking system capable of supporting the visions and strategies of the states. In this context, supervisory authorities and banking associations must define action plans and programs aimed at financing economic activity and supporting growth. According to analysts, this meeting appears as an ideal framework to forge partnerships and strengthen networking between the different ecosystems of the banking industry in the spirit of South-South and North-South cooperation. About 500 participants from the business community are well anticipated in Douala for this edition of the Banking Forum, organized under the umbrella of I-Conferences, an organization under Moroccan law, Cameroon Ministry of Finance, and the Cameroon Association of Professionals of Credit Institutions. This forum is a real platform for reflection and debate on the development of the banking system in French-speaking Africa. Among the topics on the agenda, the bank and state relationship to boost the economy, evolving challenges of banking with the advent of new digital channels, the role of the bank in the financing of small and medium enterprises, and finally, the urgency for banks to start their transformation to digital. Huawei loses America and a part of Europe but gains Africa by signing a memorandum of understanding with Huawei recently in the midst of a crisis between Washington and Beijing. African Union is positioning itself within the technological Cold War against China. In a few years, Huawei has become the second largest smartphone seller in Africa with a market share of 12.75% behind the Korean Samsung. More importantly, the Chinese giant has significantly contributed to the establishment and modernization of huge parts of the IT infrastructure of the telecommunications networks of some 30 African countries, particularly in the major countries of the continent such as South Africa, Morocco, Egypt, Algeria, Cameroon, Ethiopia, Zambia, and Angola. In addition, Huawei is engaged in programs in Africa on the latest technologies including broadband, smart grids, video surveillance, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, to mention a few. This dominant position can be explained by the fact that Huawei is one of the world's leading providers of intelligence infrastructures and devices in the fields of information and communication technologies. The Chinese giant is one of the few to have integrated solutions in 4 areas: telecommunications networks, information technologies, smart devices, and cloud computing. Clearly, in terms of telecommunications, Africa can no longer do without the Chinese giant, which very strongly dominates the 4G market and infrastructure, a domination that promises to be overwhelming at the level of the rising 5G. Today, Huawei is responsible for the construction of more than 70% of African 4G internet networks. The Chinese giant is also very well positioned for the rising 5G, accompanying the African telecom giants. The British Conservative Party announces the result of the second round of voting to appoint a successor to outgoing Prime Minister Theresa May. Former London Mayor and Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson still tops the vote, followed by 4 other candidates still in the race. He won 126 votes on Tuesday. The current head of the British diplomacy, Jeremy Hunt, came second with 46 votes.
The total number of votes given to each candidate in alphabetical order were as follows: Gove, 41. Jeremy Hunt, 46. Sajid Javid, 33. Boris Johnson, 126. Dominic Raab, 30. Rory Stewart, 37. Therefore, the following candidates are now eligible to continue on to the next ballot on Wednesday, the 19th of June at 3 p.m. Michael Gove, Jeremy Hunt, Sajid Javid, Boris Johnson, and Rory Stewart.
Only one candidate was eliminated with less than 33 votes, the former Brexit minister Dominic Raab, who won only 30 votes out of 313 Conservative members of Parliament who were asked to vote. He won't be able to run in the next round. The process of designating the future British leader begins with a series of votes within the Tory party parliamentary group. The last 2 candidates still running after Wednesday's vote will then be submitted to the vote of the party's supporters, expected the week of July 22nd. 54-year-old Boris Johnson was confirmed on top of the list with 12 more votes than in the first round last Thursday. But this Wednesday 19th, the final results will be disclosed and the successor to Theresa May will be known. An atmosphere of Jubilee night, giant screens and a tide of red caps make America great again. It is under the shouts of joy by an enthusiastic crowd that Donald Trump launched his campaign for 2020 this Tuesday in Florida, bringing back his favorite themes of 2016 and violently attacking the Democrats accused of wanting to destroy the American dream. Very comfortable at the pulpit, faithful to his provocative style, the American president, seeking a second term of office after his surprise victory in 2016, galvanized some 20,000 fans who came to listen to him in Orlando, promising an earthquake in the ballot boxes.
So now I say we've made America great again. But how do you give up the #1, call it theme, logo, statement in the history of politics for a new one? But you know, there's a new one that really works. And that's called Keep America Great, right?
A 75 speech with a very aggressive nationalist tone in which, again, he reported illegal immigration. As soon as he arrived on stage, he condemned the fake news, mocking the media, which criticized what they call corrupt system of Washington. He even attacked Hillary Clinton, his Democratic opponent during the last presidential election, though the latter has for long been away from politics and media radars. His fans were able to sing the 2016 hits. The U.S. president also vowed that under his term of office, the United States would overcome cancer, AIDS, and prepare the way to send Americans to Mars. But the impetuous Donald Trump, in a delicate position in the polls, knows he will have to win in the Sunshine State if he wants to remain 8 years in power as his three predecessors, Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton.
His speeches are the best speeches. Any other politician, and he's not really a politician, but any other politician, 5 minutes and you're just dozing off, and he is just captivating.
He loves America, he loves the American people, and you could see that. Everything, his policies, the things he does, he truly loves America, and he wants to make America great. If America's great, then the world is in good shape.
Everything that we believe in, old-fashioned, and he speaks his piece, speaks his mind.
That's
and
what I like about him. He speaks up to the, he speaks up and speaks out. He doesn't hide his feelings, so I think that's wonderful.
And we're also Donald Trump's age, so.
Women's World Cup France 2019. Yesterday, Tuesday, Brazil faced Italy in their last group match. Thanks to a penalty from Marta, Brazil qualified to the second round. Indeed, it's a penalty to make history that Marta scored in this decisive match against Squadra Azura. By scoring the goal of Brazil's victory, Marta Vieira da Silva did more than just qualifying her team to the last 16 of the competition. This achievement allows her to become the only top scorer of all the World Cups, men and women combined, with 17 goals. The 33-year-old woman, who has played 5 World Cups and also 6 times the world best player, overthrown the German Miroslav Klose and his 16 goals in 4 editions, and she is now ahead of her fellow countryman Ronaldo, who scored 15 goals. In women's football, the Brazilian star is ahead of another German female player, Brigitte Prinz, and American Abby Wambach, with 14 goals in the World Cup. The player was pleased to have broken this record, but also to have been able to embody her teammates and all these women playing football worldwide. A true icon in Brazil, along with Ronaldo, Ronaldinho and others, Marta feels that all the teams in this World Cup represent women and equality, not only in sport, but in all areas and throughout the world. June 19th of each year marks the celebration of the International Day to combat sickle anemia. In Gabon, several actions are taken, ranging from public awareness raising to free screening. The 11th edition of the Africa Banking Forum will take place from the 20th to the 21st of June 2019 in Douala. It will highlight the bank as a catalyst for an emerging African continent. In terms of women's football, Marta is the world record of all categories of goals scored in the World Cup. Yesterday, the Brazilian striker broke the absolute record of 17 goals in the World Cup against Italy. That's all for our newscast today. Stay tuned on Gabon 24 for more news.